A few months ago, I said the MacBook Neo is one of the best bang for your buck laptops that you can buy right now. And it's most likely the right laptop for a majority of the people out there. But then the dreaded price increases happened. So is the MacBook Neo still worth it? Here's what happened. Apple raised the prices across a bunch of its products, and the Neo now went from $599 to $699 for the 256 gig model, which is fine. That laptop's okay. I recommend getting the extra storage and getting Touch ID. So the 512 gig version with Touch ID, which is the one that I have here, that started at $699 and now it starts at $799. The education pricing moved as well. So students are now looking at about $599 instead of $499 for the base model and $699 instead of $599 for the higher end. I know there's a lot of numbers being thrown out there, but it's gone up quite a bit across the board, even internationally. And this isn't Apple deciding that the Neo was actually underpriced and it quietly is trying to grab more margin. It's the memory shortage. RAM prices have gone absolutely vertical because of companies like OpenAI and NVIDIA are buying up enormous quantities of memory chips for its AI servers. At least that's part of the reason, which means suppliers like Samsung and a bunch of others out there can really charge whatever they want right now. Apple's own words on it were, "We have never seen a component price increase this much this quickly." And when Apple, a company with maybe the most leverage over its supply chain over anyone on the planet, says that out loud, you should probably believe them because they have been known to basically eat a lot of its costs in order to not dish it on down to the consumers and, raise the prices when component prices have gone up. It's typically been pretty good about it. Now, here's the part that stings a little, though. The Neo only has 8 gigs of RAM, and it's the least memory-dependent Mac in the lineup. And it still went up $100 because of a memory shortage. But look at what happened to everything else. The MacBook Air went from $1099 to $1299. So this isn't one of those things where it's cut and dry now. You're saying, oh, why would I spend $799 for this or $699 when I could just go get a MacBook Air? That's got to be under $1,000, right? Wrong. It already raised its prices when this came out, and now it's $1,300. So the gap between the Neo and the Air didn't shrink at all. It actually got wider. It was $500. Now it's $600. And that matters a lot because the question that everybody's asking me is, again, should I just give this up and go for the Air? And my answer is the same as it was in my original review, but probably with more conviction. This is still the laptop that you should get. And you should get one now before things get even further more ridiculous with the price increases. If your daily life is email, web browsing, streaming, Google Docs, FaceTime, etc., if anything sounds like that, you're not making a bunch of content, 3D rendering models, all of the things that would require a lot of internal storage, a lot of memory, then yes, you should get that. The A18 Pro still outperforms the M1 in single-core performance, which is the number that probably matters the most for everyday stuff. The machine did not get slower because the price went up. You're just paying more for the very same, very capable computer. Everything else you're going to buy is also going up. So nothing's really changed here. And over the last few months, I've really, really enjoyed using this laptop. And I do want to reiterate the RAM thing because, a lot of people are saying that $700 for 8 gigabytes is insane. But I've tested this and I've opened countless 30 plus tabs of Chrome with 4K streams of YouTube and pretty much anything that you'd be doing in your web browser. I opened it up and it worked just fine. No issues whatsoever. Then I pushed to 60 plus tabs, 80 tabs, and things were just still chugging along. I was struggling a little bit, but why would you ever need that many tabs open? You should really get a hold of your life. If you've got that many tabs open at one time, you should start cutting that down a little bit. But for the most part, everything works perfectly. And if you're thinking, oh, I'll just get a Windows laptop, Windows isn't immune to the price increases. The company that makes Windows laptops are not just getting their components cheaper. They're also raising prices, and it's also not going to perform as well as this. 8 gigs on a Mac in macOS is so much more of a better experience, a much different conversation compared to 8 gigs on a Windows laptop. With that said, all of the things I really like about this laptop, the design, the form factor, how light it is, the display is really good despite it not being Apple's best. And again, the performance is fantastic. I really don't notice much. The compromises haven't changed either, though. There's still no backlit keyboard. Apple's lighter shade keycaps help a little bit in the dim rooms. I do like them, but they're not a replacement for having backlit keys. So if you enjoy that, you're not going to get that here. There's no True Tone. There's only 2 USB-C ports that aren't equal, with the back one being USB 3 at 10 gigabits and the only one that drives an external display. And the other one is stuck at USB 2 speeds. That's my biggest gripe about this whole thing, but you'll get over it. That port situation, again, remains my personal pain point because I'm missing an SD card slot and I really do need that. And also, there's no Thunderbolt. So for transferring large files, that's going to be an issue. But if you're working with large files, you probably don't need this machine. No MagSafe, no fast charging, mechanical trackpad instead of force touch. Again, none of them really became deal breakers for me at $699. They're the same compromises. You're just paying a little bit more for them now. Configuration advice does get a little trickier, though. My original take was going from $599 to $699 for double the storage, and Touch ID was the best $100 that you can spend on this laptop. I do still believe that, and I guess technically nothing's changed because the base model did increase in price, but if you're like, I absolutely cannot spend more than $599, $699, then I guess just go with the base model. But I use Touch ID countless times a day. The amount of storage is always a plus, especially since it's increasing. And who knows what this laptop's going to be priced at for $512 later on down the road. But yeah, I would still, if you can swing it, get the $512 with Touch ID. It's the one that I absolutely would want to have. And one last thing, that refurbished and used angle, people are pointing at deals like an M3 Air with 16 gigs and $512 for around $800 and is asking why wouldn't anyone buy a Neo instead? And that's a legitimately good deal. And you could find that absolutely taken, anything over $1,000. But as the market is adjusting with these prices being, raised for the new models, the refurbished and the used prices are also going to go up. So if you are somebody out there who needs a laptop, buy it right now before it gets any worse. I highly recommend it because it might get worse. There's also one more thing that I keep coming back to, and the fact that Apple shipped a brand new Mac with 8 gigs of RAM in 2026 means Apple has to keep macOS running well on 8 gigs for years to come, or at least it would be beneficial for everyone who bought this, which is a lot of people. And so I can't imagine they're suddenly going to release an update next year where it starts to brick millions of MacBook Neos. And so the Neo outsold every other Mac in its debut quarter, over 1 million units shipped in something like 3 weeks of availability. So there's a lot of these out there. So if you're worried about 8 gigs and you're worried about it becoming, unreasonable to use in a couple of years, I just don't see that happening. Mac OS, Apple Silicon, the software just works so well together. So I wouldn't necessarily be worried about it, honestly. If you're somebody who thinks they even need remotely more RAM than 8 gigs, I would imagine most people who are buying this laptop don't even know how much RAM they actually need. They just want something that works. It looks fun and playful and can get the work done. They can, whether you're a student or an office employee or just somebody who needs a family computer at home, this is the best option still, even at the new price point. So would love to hear from you in the comments down below. What are your thoughts? If you want to see my other review earlier, because, some of the other more technical aspects of this laptop have remained unchanged in my opinion, so you can check out that review still. But let me know in the comments what you think about the MacBook Neo. If you bought one, are you loving it? If you're on the fence, have you changed your mind, or are you just going to go for something more expensive? Or please don't wait. I just think things are going to get worse, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. This has been Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.